All right, so I just want to thank you guys for spending some time with the chamber today to talk about Prop 8, or the RAP tax, as we've also heard it called. Um, I want to introduce to everyone watching here, we've got Mayor Emily Mijas, and we've got our financial director at the city, Clint York, and our city manager, Joel Linares. And they have agreed to talk to us a little bit about this tax and what benefits we could see from it, and all of the details about it, because it's going to show up on our ballot and we want to know what it is we're voting for. So I think we'll start with you, Joel. So just give us a rundown of what Prop 8 is all about.
So Proposition 8 is a local tax that's allowed through state legislature that allows us to tax a penny for every $10 spent, that is only used for parks, art, and recreation. It's earmarked for those types of spending, and currently we don't have it in place. There's couple dozen cities across the state of Utah that do. And so we looked into this as a staff at the direction of council and realized that about 80% of the spending from a tax collected in this format would come from tourists and visitors. And it was basically the last of what we call the tourist taxes that had never been implemented by the city. Obviously, because of COVID, we have some revenue issues, but this predated COVID, and we started back in, I don't know, October of last year, really starting to push this process and starting to fill it out. And so we had a revenue problem prior to COVID, and we were trying to solve that, and not only trying to cut our costs, which we've done quite a bit, but we were also trying to find new revenue sources. So we brought what we found to the council and proposed that we put this on the ballot for the voters to decide on whether or not they wanted to implement Proposition 8 now, and started that process then. And here we are. It would go towards arts, parks, recreation, ball fields. It can also go to third-party groups, which would include non-for-profit groups that are doing like the arts, the free music concert series, or things like that. Will have a way, if it passed, to have an application and try and receive funding for some of that. So we currently are operating our arts, park, and recreation at a deficit. And so this amount of money that would propose to be raised through this Proposition 8 would not cover that deficiency, but it would help get us going in the right direction, especially since COVID's hit and we're going to find us in even more economic strain. So definitely thought it was a good idea to let the people of the community and the citizens decide whether or not this was something they wanted to proceed with.
Awesome, thank you. And maybe I'll direct this next question towards Clint then. So how much, what percentage of a tax are we looking at? What does that look like for voters?
So it would make our tax rate go from 8.75 to 8.85. And one way of looking at it is basically for every $10 spent, it would be a penny increase in cost. So if you go to the store and you spend $100, if you go out to eat or do anything else and you spend $100, you're talking about a dime. So, in looking at what it would bring back to the city, we projected on 2019 numbers about a $300,000 increase in revenue. And of that $300,000, like Joel said, about 80% of that would come from tourists. So 240,000 of that we could see as not coming from our community, but from those that come in, recreate or do whatever else in our community. So,
and it's important to be clear that this tax would not be levied against non-prepared food items and gas purchases. So the majority of things bought at City Market, your day-to-day grocery items, purchase gas to and from work, those items are not going to be taxed under this proposition. It's prepared food items and sales of general goods for the most part that will be hit with this.
And another thing to put that we brought up is our general fund supplements our rec fund almost $1 million a year. So this would be, it would help it out.
It would free up that money, right? So I really liked what you said, Joel, about this is kind of like one of the last tourist taxes that we aren't implementing. I know that we're always looking for ways that we can bring more money to the city, and benefit our city a little bit more through our industry of tourism. And this is Sounds like a great way to do that. And where, so what do we currently spend? Did you talk about what we currently spend, Clint, on,
Okay.
sorry,
Recreation?
on recreation, parks and arts? Yeah.
I think last year we did almost 1.6 million last year in just rec.
So that's like the rec center, the
Rec
mark.
center, the mark, and all of our city rec sports and everything else.
And the MRAC, yeah.
And does that include like maintenance for the parks, those kinds of things as well?
No, it doesn't include any maintenance in the parks,
Okay.
correct, Bill? That all comes from the Parks Service Fund and that.
Oh, okay.
From the general fund.
All right. Okay. And then, so how do we look to spend this money from this tax from Prop 8 that we get? Is that something maybe that you can answer, Mayor?
Absolutely. So it has been suggested by some community members that we put together a committee to advise the council on the spending of these funds. And the council is very, open and receptive to that idea. The reality is that this council and every council has the responsibility of looking at, playing the long game and looking at the long-term needs of our community. And so while right now we're feeling like we're in a pandemic and we're feeling like, money is very tight, this tax would be implemented and collected over 10 years. And in 10 years, we would decide if we want to continue with the tax. And so we're going to get through this pandemic. We're already seeing recovery. And so, next year we might be in a place where we're really just continuing to supplement the expense of parks and arts and recreation. However, if we do get to a place in the future where we're doing more than supplementing and we want to create a fund for special projects, then I think, like I said, the city council is very open to having an advisory committee looking at making the suggestion of how to spend that funding. But Clint, thank you so much for illustrating just how much we spend and how this tax really would only just be a fraction, but we would only be collecting a fraction of what we actually spend.
Awesome. And then just, is there anything else that you guys want to say, that anyone wants to add to the conversation about Prop 8 or the RAP tax?
I'll add just a word to people watching. So Proposition 8 will be on our ballots and our November ballots. I encourage you to, look into the future of Moab City and recognize that, this is the last tax that we can implement as a community to cover the costs of having a tourism-based economy. I hope everybody votes. I hope that, everyone receives a ballot, and if not, that you contact the county clerk to be sure that you have a ballot and have a voice. Because with Proposition 8, as with all things that you see on the ballot, it's really up to you, the voter. And sometimes the city, the county, the state, and the federal government, they'll throw things out to you and say, hey, what do you think? And so your participation is really important so that we make a really good decision, and we continue to make good decisions for the future of our community. So don't forget to vote. How could you not vote in this year's election? And please do consider voting in favor of Prop 8 because it really will help the city continue all the services that you know and love, specifically with parks, art, and recreation.
Thank you. And then if anybody has questions or just, wants to talk about it a little bit more, who should they talk to? Is that you, Clint?
they can contact me anytime. I'll help answer any questions that anybody has.
Me as well.
Okay, so just contact the city. You can talk to Joel, you can talk to Clint. You can always contact the chamber and we can, get the information for you if we've got it. And we just want to say thank you again to you guys for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy, and helping us to educate members a little bit about what's going to be on their ballot. Thank you so much.
And Lacey, thank you. Thank you to the chamber. You've really stepped up during this pandemic. I'm so grateful to you for your leadership, and I'm so grateful to the chamber for all of the resources that you continue to provide to our business community. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, you guys have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.